I feel that I need to address the presidential debate that took place tonight on the Fox Business Channel. When I watched the debate, I could tell that the audience had been taken over by Jesuits because when the candidates said anything that the Jesuits would like, they were just it was just raucous applause. And I'm just going to go over one by one some of what I heard from the candidates. Let's start with Carly Fiorina. She was very rude to Rand Paul during the debate. She interrupted Rand Paul. They had asked a question about how they felt about Barack Obama sending 50 troops into the Middle East and his presence in Afghanistan. And Rand Paul said he thought that a no-fly zone would be a very bad idea because that would mean we'd have to knock down Russian jets. And he also said that Russia was in the Middle East at the invitation of the governments, and it's true. Um, Vladimir Putin was invited to come to Syria by the legitimately elected ruler of Syria, who's Assad. And he may not be perfect, but I believe he's an anti-Jesuit leader now. And what Rand Paul was just saying, we don't want to set up a no-fly zone because if we do that, we're going to be shooting down Russians. And why do we want to get involved in every single civil war in the world, spend our limited resources on a military presence in getting involved in a civil war with a country where it's none of our business, when we could be spending our money more intelligently for other things like building up our nation? And then, all the other candidates were jumping all over him, and Carly Fiorina saying we got to go after Putin, that Putin's, he's evil. And Carly Fiorina was saying, well, I have met Putin. And she was saying she was not impressed with him, and like she felt he was evil. And she was rude. She interrupted Rand Paul when he was explaining that as Americans, yes, we want to be strong, but we don't want to get involved in every single civil war in the world when it's none of our business. And she interrupted him, and even that computer in the background, even Donald Trump said that she was being rude to do that. And Jeb Bush, on the same topic, he believes in setting up a no-fly zone in Syria. Do you know what that means? That means we'd have to knock down Russian jets. Ben Carson is also against Vladimir Putin. It seems like it's for the Republican ticket and even the Democratic ticket, it's the politically in thing to do is to be against Putin. So actually, you can tell which candidates are courageous by the ones who have the guts to stand for Putin. The Jesuits have set things up so that if a candidate is for Vladimir Putin, who is the conspiracy law president, and I'm the author of Conspiracy Law, I'm the American Empress. Let me just tell you, of all the Republican candidates, and I watched the entire debate, both debates, but it seems of all the Republican candidates, the only one who I think will enforce or honor my conspiracy law is Donald Trump and Rand Paul. Only those two. And I especially like Donald Trump. I'm going to get to him later. Carson made an out-and-out bad statement about Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin had lost a Russian jet. I believe the Jesuits put a bomb on that jet. He's lost a jet to Jesuit terrorism and has paid a price for sending his troops into Syria to try to defeat the Jesuits in the Middle East. And these candidates have the gall to call him a bully? It's so wrong. Let me tell you what I think is so ironic. When you watch the news media, everybody says that they think Ben Carson is the one they trust the most as far as the one who has the most integrity or the most moral uprightness. You know who I think has the most integrity and moral uprightness? I think it's Donald Trump. When I watch him, he seems so... Anyways, let me get back to this. Okay, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he actually called Putin a gangster. Putin a gangster. Who's the gangster? In 2000, the Vladimir Putin was having some training exercises using the Cheval torpedo training exercises in 2000. And China was invited to the training exercises. This was in the Barents Sea. And while the Kursk, that was the name of the submarine, was participating in the training exercises, two U.S. submarines, the Memphis and the Toledo, were kind of like around the Kursk, showing their objection to this because the United States wanted to maintain their supremacy in the Chinese seas. And apparently an accident happened, and the Kursk, I think it was either the Memphis or the Toledo, rammed into one of the U.S. submarines, rammed into the American Kursk, and that would be like a trawler ramming into the Queen Mary. And so that submarine, I think it was the Memphis, I can't remember, but I go to my website at gabrieltana.com/portfolio.html, and I have some links about it. To make a long story short, the American submarine apparently heard the Kursk opening up their torpedo casing. I guess they were getting ready to start doing the tests, and they thought, because they'd accidentally or purposely rammed into the Kursk, that torpedo, the Cheval torpedo, was about to go towards them. So as a defensive or maybe an offensive maneuver, they shot, I think that they call it a Mark 48 torpedo, right into the hull of the Kursk. You can even see the hole in pictures when they lifted the Kursk from the seabed. There's a glaring hole there that shows the torpedo went inside, and that caused the Kursk to explode in the torpedo went inside, exploded in the torpedo compartment, which caused many more explosions with all the Chevals exploding. So the people who were in the torpedo compartment died immediately. The rest of the Russians went to the other side of the submarine. Anyways, the Russians knew the Americans did it. But apparently, Clinton and Putin struck a deal, a dirty deal, and Clinton said, I want you to keep this undercover. I will forgive all the loans that you owe us, Russia. And the only thing is, you got to do what we want, okay? And if not, then I guess the U.S. and Russia are going to have war. I mean, this is how America is. They attack the Russian submarine. That resulted in the death of 118 sailors. And now they've got all these bases, NATO bases, right on in Russia's backyard. And then they say Russia is the bully? Who's the one? Where are all the NATO bases? They're all on Russia's borders, okay? And the Jesuits are behind NATO. They hate Vladimir Putin because he is the conspiracy law president, the one who enforces my anti-Jesuit conspiracy law. Okay, Marco Rubio calls Putin a gangster. I heard him say it in the debate. He says about Putin, he understands only geopolitical strength and that he is exploiting that, that he's just a power monger. The power monger is the United States. I've already told you how they already killed 118 Russian sailors. And John Kasich, he believes in having a no-fly zone over Syria against Vladimir Putin. He wants to arm Ukraine. You know who's running Ukraine right now? A bunch of Jesuit fascists. And you know how they got into power? The United States secretly brought Poroshenko into power. And they've got a first-class mess over there in Ukraine because of United States interference in Ukraine. And Rand Paul was saying that. He's saying Rand Paul was saying we got Germany and all these countries over there that should be more concerned about Ukraine than the United States, and they're doing nothing. And then we are spending our our limited resources, butting our nose into other nations' affairs. It's none of our business. And I was thinking, yes, Rand Paul. And then Carly Fiorina started interrupting him and saying, oh, no, we got to do something about Putin. And then Trump said, Carly, you're being so rude. Let him finish what he's saying. I said, yeah, Trump. I mean, I can't believe it. All of these people running for president are all Jesuit patsies. They're just, and then the audience was clapping every time they said anything bad about Putin or any, and they really liked Carly Fiorina, and she was going ranting and raving against Putin and like almost getting red in the face. And I'm thinking, wow, you know what I think? I think they were all Jesuits in the audience, and the moderators, the lady moderator, was acting kind of nervous, like she had a death threat on her. I think they were forced to ask that question about the Middle East. If not, the Jesuits were going to kill him. I really think so. Now, the last Republican debate, most of the moderators seemed like they were Jesuit. But this one, it seemed like the audience was Jesuit. In other words, the moderators were surrounded by Jesuits. Ted Cruz, he seems to just have a typical conservative Christian viewpoint. The problem that I have with Ben Carson and Ted Cruz is they seem to have this attitude that if you adopt an evangelical, black and white, conservative Christian viewpoint, it's just going to solve everything. Being a president's a complicated job. It's not just a matter of imposing your interpretation of the Bible into politics. It's a complicated job. And imposing your religious or political ideology on there is not going to solve every single problem that a president has to deal with. Donald Trump, when they asked him about the 50 troops and all that going to Syria, he said he thinks what Putin is doing there is great, and that when he had his 60 Minutes interview and Vladimir Putin was part of the format, that he met him and he got along with him great, and he said, and when they said, well, what about and then Trump actually seemed like he was really proud of Vladimir. He said, you know what, we need to lay off on Russia. They just lost a plane to terrorists. And they're paying a price for what they're doing over there, doing the dirty work that, fixing up the mess over there in Syria. We need to lay off on them. He said, this has nothing to do with being strong or weak. He says, I believe in having a strong military, but I also believe in using our resources wisely. And I thought, yay, Trump. So I'm just saying, Donald Trump is the only one who's talking sense about Vladimir Putin and Russia. And he seems to be the most courageous and morally upright of all the candidates running. So Donald Trump has my endorsement. Carly Fiorina, she'd be a disaster in foreign relations. Same with Jeb Bush with his no-fly zone. Ben Carson, I listened to what he had to say. Ben Carson basically tries to play to the evangelical crowd, and he tells them what he thinks they want to hear. I don't think he has any true convictions. I think he's a real smart con artist. That's what I think about him. I don't trust him. And Rand Paul seems like a good man. I like him, but I don't think he's as smart as Donald Trump. But I like what Rand Paul says about Vladimir Putin. Anyways, I just wanted to give you my heads up on how I felt about that debate. I felt like there were Jesuits in the audience, so. And I think Donald Trump, boy, he seemed like he was really speaking from his heart when he talked about how he and Vladimir kind of bonded at that 60 Minutes. I think Donald Trump will enforce my conspiracy law if he comes in. I like him, and I endorse him. I thought he was very brave, and I just wanted to make this video to show my appreciation for Donald Trump for standing by Vladimir Putin, even though everybody was ganging up against him to do otherwise.